Sarah and Mark had always dreamed of owning a historic home, so when they found the old Victorian house on the edge of town, they were ecstatic. The house had been vacant for years, but its charm was undeniable. They moved in, eager to start their new life together. The first night was uneventful, but on the second night, Sarah woke up to a faint whispering. She nudged Mark, but when he listened, the sound had stopped. "It's probably just the house settling," he said, and they went back to sleep. However, the whispering continued every night, growing louder each time. Sarah could almost make out words, but they were garbled. Mark still heard nothing, which made Sarah doubt her own sanity. Determined to find out more, Sarah spent a day at the local library researching the house's history. She discovered that the previous owner, Elias Thornton, had been a reclusive man with an interest in the occult. He had lived there alone until his disappearance, which was never solved. That evening, as they sat down for dinner, the whispering became clear. "They're coming. Beware the shadows. You can't leave." Sarah's heart pounded. "Mark, did you hear that?" Mark looked at her concerned. "Hear what, Sarah? There's nothing." But Sarah knew she wasn't imagining it. The next day, she found an old diary hidden in the attic. It belonged to Elias, and it detailed his experiments with summoning spirits. The last entry mentioned a ritual gone wrong, trapping him and other entities in the house. That night, the whispers turned into threats. "You'll never leave," they hissed. Sarah and Mark decided to leave, but when they tried the front door, it was locked from the inside, with no key in sight. The windows were sealed shut, and their phones had no signal. Panic set in as they heard footsteps upstairs. They grabbed flashlights and headed to the basement, where the presence seemed strongest. In the basement, they found a circle drawn on the floor, with candles and strange symbols. In the center was an old book of spells. Sarah opened it and found a banishing ritual. As they began to chant, the temperature dropped, and the whispers turned to screams. The air grew thick with malice, and shadows danced on the walls. Suddenly, the ghost of Elias Thornton appeared, his eyes filled with rage. "You dare to banish me from my own home?" he roared. But Sarah and Mark continued the ritual, their voices steady. A bright light filled the room, and Elias let out a final agonized cry before vanishing. The house returned to normal, and the door opened easily. Sarah and Mark fled, never to return. Though they were safe, they couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed them. Sometimes, in the dead of night, they still hear faint whispers, a reminder that some horrors are never truly gone.